welcome. Well, it is 8 on the hour and we're going to get started. I'm going to introduce Rabbi Gerson to give us an invocation.
That is wonderful. Good morning, everybody. I'm Rabbi Diana Gerson. I'm from the New York Board of Rabbis. And this morning, we are reading from the Torah portion, Shmini. And Shmini, I believe, teaches us a couple of things. One, it teaches us what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat. Why does it matter what we put in our bodies? It matters because it makes us who we are. When we are conscious of what we put into ourselves, we know what we're actually able to put out into the world. Shmini reminds us the power of one person. Each person, each one of us here, each conference attendee, each person in their community has the capacity to change the world. It is said in Jewish life that to save a life is to save the world, according to the Talmud. And together, each of us here has that capacity, changing one life, changing the world. As we look forward to next steps, we gather in prayer and holiness in the sacred space in order to make the difference in the lives and world of each and every person. Amen.
Thank you, Diana. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to go through a presentation and just kind of do some highlights and recap of the program from the perspective of the audience and the feedback that we've heard. So the conference as we call the Symposium versus conference, actually the reason for Symposium is really it was a gathering of multiple people with multiple perspectives to share information and hopefully come to some common understandings and interpretations of what's going on. But we've really had unprecedented support from a lot of different organizations. And I want to really say that organizations that hosted the program in Harvard and my colleagues at Harvard, we had a lot of really amazing cross-school support from the Divinity School and from the School of Public Health, from FXB. Everybody that we invited said yes and joined and was very helpful in helping promote the program and provide speakers and provide support. So we're really pleased, and of course the program was initially sponsored and really did a lot of the day-to-day infrastructure work with the Human Flourishing Program, which is a program that Brendan and I are affiliated with. And Brendan, I'm going to just ask you want to just share for a second just a little bit about the Human Flourishing Program and what we do.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, so here's the Human Flourishing Program. That's our website. I'm Brendan Case, the Associate Director for Research at the program. And in a nutshell, the Human Flourishing Program exists to advance the understanding and promotion of human well-being in a number of domains, and also to promote the integration of research into human well-being from across the social sciences and the humanities. And so we have 14 full-time program associates who come from a huge range of disciplines: epidemiology, sociology, criminology, and also philosophy. I'm a theologian, Christian theologian by training. We have a historian, and it is a fun and dynamic place to work. And we're very grateful to have Jennifer join us recently as well, who brought a vision for a virtual event on preventing and healing child sexual abuse, which grew far beyond what I possibly could have imagined when we first started talking about it in October. And it's been a lot of fun to work on it with her. So yeah, I'll hand it back to Jennifer. Thank you all so much for your support in various ways and capacities all through the planning process and execution of this event.
Thank you. It's been an amazing partnership, Brendan. So it's we've many late night calls and early morning calls, and he has 4 children. So for those of you who have little children around, you'll know it's a lot of balancing acts to do. Right. But we're really proud to have had the opportunity to put this event together. And just to as a top summary, we had 50 organizations, blessings from the major houses of worship, and a special message from Pope Francis, which was personally for me and for the survivors that are coming from the Catholic Church was very meaningful for us. So we opened, of course, the program with a blessing from the Reverend Miyamoto, who is the president of Arigato International. And Rebecca, would you just give us just a really brief, just share a little bit about who Reverend Miyamoto is?
Yes, thank you. Reverend Miyamoto is the spiritual leader of Miyazaki. It's a Buddhist organization in Japan. And Reverend Miyamoto's father created Arigato International. He was very much inspired by the work of UNICEF, and he had dedicated his life to promoting peace. And he realized at one point that in order to ensure peace in the world, we had to start with children, working together with children. So he provided this extraordinary vision for the work that Arigato International does today. So Reverend Miyamoto was thrilled, and on behalf of Reverend Miyamoto, I want to just express how thankful Arigato is that he was able to convey his spiritual message and blessing at the symposium. So thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And one thing of note, and it oftentimes, as I look at how I like to see things unfold, I'm a very deeply spiritual person, and I do leave up to God. And when people were asking specifically, what did we want blessings to say, I wouldn't give them any direction. I just said, well, let God or your Holy Father or the universe speak to you, and do a blessing that comes from your soul. And that's exactly what we got. And so we did not script any of this program. And as the videos were pouring in, of course, it brought me to tears often. And just to see the amount of thought and work and preparation that went into them. And so this video in particular was incredibly moving for me, just because of the just the gravitas in which Reverend Miyamoto presented and helped open the ceremony. So we were very grateful, Rebecca. So if you'll please express our deepest gratitude, we would be very grateful. We had messages and come from all over the world, and we were delighted to meet with the First Lady of Sierra Leone. And I'm going to ask Nicole Pelagia, just to give a very brief introduction about the First Lady. Is she with us yet? She might not have joined us.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm just going to quickly scroll through and see if Mohammed is on, because he would be, I would ask him to actually give the honor, and I don't think he's on, so I'll go ahead and do so. So Shine on Sierra Leone has been working in Sierra Leone for about 15 years, and we have not had a champion in any of the sitting presidencies as we have right now with Madame Fatima Mada Bio and her husband. And so this is a cause that is very important and near to the heart of Madame Bio and her husband, the president of Sierra Leone. So it was obviously without any sort of ringing of arms that she came on board to support the mission of April 8th all day. And she has been a staunch supporter of gender-based violence, child sexual abuse, and promoting and empowering women, not only in Sierra Leone, but galvanizing African first ladies from different regions of Africa to also come on board, particularly with her initiative and campaign called Hands Off Our Girls campaign. So because of her, there are now various versions of those campaigns on the continent of Africa. So we were very excited that she would come on board, and she would speak so passionately and eloquently about her work and about supporting April 8th World Day. So thank you, Jennifer and team.
Also, Dr. Azza Karam. And Diana, I know you've worked closely with Azza Karam. I wondered if you could share a little bit about her today.
Dr. Azza Karam is a force to be reckoned with around the globe. I know Azza in several capacities, one from her time at UNFPA. She just majestically steered the interagency task force on religion and sustainable development at the United Nations. And a little over, almost 2 years ago, she became the Secretary General of Religions for Peace International. She's also a professor at the Vrije University of Amsterdam, where I am a PhD candidate. Azza is born in, I believe, Cairo, and really has this incredible ability to always bring people together of different faiths, different streams, for common good and common effort and work. I've never seen anything quite like it, but with determination and insight, compassion, and just tremendous ethic. She really creates a sacred space to talk about the world's toughest issues. So we're most grateful for Dr. Karam and her leadership.
Thank you. All right. So we had a number of other, the bios for all of the speakers are listed in the program. We had a number of other very esteemed partnerships. I think probably, May, you can speak quickly about the Imam Majid and Anwar Khan for us. I think is May with us yet?
Sorry, I'm here, but I was muted.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Yeah, so Imam Majid, I mean, I know him through Anwar because, I mean, he has a direct connection with him. I know that he is the executive imam of the Dallas area, Adams Center in Sterling, Virginia, and the chairman of International Interfaith Peace Corp. And he is he was the former president of Islamic Society of North America, ISNA, and he's the chairman of Al-Muflahin. And he does I mean, he also have an organization that he runs, and it runs a program within the religions paradigm, it's called. I'm just reading through his bio here. I mean, he has a long history of commitment to public service through organizations such as the Peaceful Family Project. So this is what he works with. So he has co-authored also 3 books: Before You Tie the Knot, a guide for couples, reflection on the Quran and change from within. So he also helped in organizing training and workshop for imams and religious leaders. He has connections to the administration. He's representing the Muslim community when it comes like the administration, the White House. I know that, Jennifer, when I was telling Anwar about your meeting with the Pope, so he had several meetings in the Vatican with the Pope, Imam Majid. This is what Anwar told me about him. So yeah, thank you. As for Anwar Khan, Anwar Khan, he is the president of Islamic Relief USA, and he's been in this field for almost 26 years now, 26 to 27 years. He started Islamic Relief USA in 1993 in California. He is also currently serve as a board member with the World Food Program and the JLI, Joint Learning Initiative. And also he's on the Advisory Council for Muslim Philanthropy Institute at Indiana University. He has a great passion for programs. He's a philanthropist, he's a fundraiser. I know he got very emotional, especially when I sent to him when we were talking about the child protection and the program that we're doing in preparation for this event. He said, May, I'm very emotional when I read. I come to tears when I read about the suffering that the children going through the times, and he was really grateful for this opportunity that we're all coming together to do something, to take an action, to raise the voice for these issues that's happening. I mean, it's been always there, but at least finally there is someone coming and say something about it. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, May. And Diane, I'm going to call on you again. I know you don't work day to day with Reverend David Wolpe, but you can talk a little bit about where he resides and practices his ministry work. And if you don't mind jumping in and just sharing a little bit about Rabbi Wolpe.
Sure. Rabbi David Wolpe is the senior rabbi of Temple Sinai in Los Angeles, where he has been, I think, for several decades. He is considered to be one of the 50 most influential rabbis in the United States. He is very well written. You can find his daily inspirations, I believe, on YouTube. He's a conservative rabbi. His congregation is quite diverse. And he is a mensch, always there for the community in any capacity, and really has a heart filled with compassion, really brings something unique to the conversation always, and that is because of his keen mind. So we are most grateful for Rabbi Wolpe's voice as he has participated in this symposium, and hopefully to engage him further in this work going forward, because he has a tremendous capacity for healing.
Thank you very much. And Rebecca, you'll get to talk a little bit about Dr. Mustafa and our wonderful support we've had from Ergatu.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. I thought Mustafa was online.
Is he on with us? Did
Yes,
he join us?
I'm online.
You get to talk about yourself. Hi. Thank you.
Sorry, I see most of the people, everybody who's out there, someone else is speaking about them. So I don't mind if Rebecca speaks about me.
Okay, Rebecca, let's talk. It's your chance to talk about Mustafa.
It's difficult to talk about oneself, isn't it?
Yeah, no, Mustafa, I would be very, very pleased to present you, but Mustafa, you should speak about the wonderful work that you do around the world as Secretary General of the Global Network of Religions for Children. So go ahead.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, Jennifer, and your team, Sage, for putting up such a wonderful symposium where some of the most challenging issues were discussed and recommendations are done. Issues that oftentimes people, especially from faith communities and leaders, tend to put on the side, on the back burner, because of the nature of these issues that we should be speaking about. I represent a network that works in 56 countries around the world, the Global Network of Religions for Children, very happily engaging in this very important work that Harvard University and your colleagues have actually been discussing for the last 3 or so days. I'm also the director of Arigato International Nairobi, together with Rebecca, Maria Lucia, Fred Nyabera, my colleagues. We lead different initiatives that all focus squarely on children. We are a partnership, we are a network, and I can see on this call this morning, this afternoon, this evening from Vinu Aram, Rabbi Diana, Bishop Julio Morey. I see Ms. Dana Humaid of Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities. All of us have been seized on these particular issues for the last 3-4 years. And what you've done, Jennifer, in many ways helped to, just put this work on a higher gear so that we can move faster and engage better in the work that we've been doing. I recall in 2018 and 2019, with the Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities, some of the work, particularly the online dignity of children and grappling to find ways to address exploitation and abuse of children online, work that really had not been done in the past in the manner that Interfaith Alliance and partners are actually doing now. So we look forward to continuing and putting more effort, invigorating faith leaders around the world to refocus their energies on this issue that has blighted the lives of many children around the world. So congratulations, Jennifer and your team, and we look forward to working with all of you and the team that we've been working together with.
Thank you so much, Mustafa. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. Okay, so we also, this is a very international event, and we had so many wonderful leaders from all the organizations. And so I had the pleasure of meeting Pastor David Donkwa through an inquiry that he made into our program to look at opportunities for professional growth and development. And his wife is a student at Harvard in the School of Public Health, and I had the pleasure of meeting her when they came to do the blessing in the Cathedral of the Holy Cross at in here in Boston. And it's actually a stunningly beautiful cathedral, and we just felt it was very fitting for the event, and it was also COVID friendly for us. We were able to come in. It's so big. It was difficult to find a place to film and at last minute, and I'm very grateful to Cardinal O'Malley and Father Kickham for letting me come in to the cathedral with a camera, and they had about 24 hours notice, and they just opened their arms and said, well, come on in. And as I was walking in, he said, so what are you filming today? And I was commenting to the gentleman who's our cinematographer on the documentary that that is a huge grace and privilege for us to have a cardinal who says, yeah, come on down and film, and then what are you filming? So I think Pastor David, I'd like you to say a few words about your church, but he has been just really generous in his time and support and looking at the grassroots efforts in communities in Africa, and helping to bring in a lot of the participants from Africa, from his colleagues. And I was just always so moved by his graciousness, and then whenever we had a meeting together and he prayed for us, it was very powerful. So Pastor David, would you just say a few words about your work and what you do?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Pastor David, and I minister at the Empowerment Temple of the International Central Gospel Church here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I want to begin by thanking God and through our Lord Jesus Christ for the success of this symposium. The expectation of the success has been beyond our imagination. I also applaud Dr. Jennifer Waltham for your leadership and the whole team for great job. For me, it has been a remarkable journey for the program. As you all attest, the knowledge of child sexual abuse have been enhanced, and me personally, meeting different or diverse people from around the world, and also bringing people from Africa to be partakers of this symposium has been wonderful and great for me. And the friendship and the partnership that we have developed on this platform, I hope that those partnership and friendship will continue to grow so as to reach out to children who are being exploited in any form or in any shape. And it is my prayer that as we end this symposium, we will go out there to continue to create that awareness, so that we will be a solution to all the children of the world. I would like to thank each and everyone who made this symposium success. And may the Lord bless you and keep you safe. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor David. And I did get a lot of wonderful comments on your presentation. And I have a little dog now who's jealous that I'm on Zoom, so I'm sorry for the squeaking, but there's no place for me to put him. So you might hear some squeaking in the background for a few minutes. All right. So one of the things that we were really touched by, you know, and I when I got this video again, and I was just so moved. And when my mom saw the videos, I asked her what was the one that, you know, meant the most to her, and she actually said the children. And so I really wanted to put this here and speak to this a little bit. And Sage, do you want to maybe say a little word about who brought this to us? And I know we were all just, you know, amazed as these were coming in, so we don't have a lot of details about how it was put together, but Sage, can you mention a little bit about who this organization is? And,
absolutely. I actually see Dr. Kizavinu Aram online with us, and she is
That's
the one
great.
who led, so we'll have her introduce it.
Yes, thank you. I can't see anybody, so I'll let you do that. Thanks.
Thank you, Sage. Thanks, Jennifer. When I received the initial invitation from Rebecca from Arigato International and read through the whole thing, it kind of connected immediately to what I was seeing around and what we were planning to do. I think Mustafa said it for all of us. This was really accelerating and going to the next level. So I said the blessing will be incomplete if I don't have children with me. And Shanti Ashram is an institution inspired by Mahatma Gandhi. Our spiritual motivation is at the very center of our work. And I think during the COVID pandemic, for me personally, a blessing has been to hit the refresh button, to meet children every day. The time liberated from meetings, from travel, has been a moment to connect with the community. So Jennifer, Rebecca, Mustafa, Diana, all of us are here. I know Captain Dana is here as well. It was for me very, very precious to be there with the children and to follow suit. So also presenting Jennifer a model that children can lead us to things that we cannot imagine in our own time. So a real pleasure for me to do that. And I thank the children because there was a process. I told Sage we had to get the consent, we had to invite them, COVID compliance. But finally, just like your mother, Jennifer, when I saw the video, I was like, I don't have much to do. I just have to speak from my heart. But the same thing, I think Jennifer also, I serve on the board of Arigato International. I know that this work is a culmination of 20 years of commitment to children at Arigato, to bring faith communities to talk on issues that we are silent on. So there is a preparation, Jennifer, and I'm so glad that that preparation also found fruition in this program. This interfaith framework, sometimes it's easier to be together and to speak of difficult issues than to stand alone and be pointed at. And I think that interfaith dimension of our work was equally precious. But I think also big shout out, Jennifer, to your team. Sage was so polite, but yet so kind, and she kept pursuing us. We were in the midst of state elections in India. And to my young team at Shanti Ashram as well, as soon as they heard the theme, child sexual abuse, they went out of their way to come together. So very grateful, Jennifer, Rebecca, all of us, and I hope we can take the momentum forward. The right mix of science and society, spirit and solidarity. I think it was just the right mix for me in this symposium.
Thank you.
Science and society, spirit and solidarity.
Thank you. It was so lovely to meet you, and when we did, we were just thrilled. And I know Shanti Ashram is doing a lot of wonderful work, and we're so grateful to have you as a partner. So I just want to underscore, when you're talking about child sexual abuse, it's difficult to have, how do you integrate children into the conversation? Well, you did a brilliant job, and it was just a lovely, touching moment. So thank you very much for that.
Jennifer, it was also special for me. I went to school there. So it was good to be
Did
back
you?
to the School of Public Health and to the Children's Hospital. I did my fellowship and my MPH. So there's a little bit of homecoming as well. Thank you.
Thank you. It was just beautiful. All right. Well, Sage, now you're going to be on for sure. And just Sage did, and she'll hear this often and hears it every day from me with great thanks and her patience. And she volunteered so much time to this event through the April 8th collaborative. And we've been so grateful to have her support and tenacity and grace. And then I'm going to have you just talk a little bit about the process. If we went through every sponsor, we'd be here till noon. But just share a little bit about your experience, and then we want to also have you give some very special recognition. I know some of the people you work with Interfaith Alliance, so I think you guys practically were on the phone 24/7 the last few days. So.
Absolutely, it would be a pleasure. As you can see, and as you've already seen from this meeting, we stand on the shoulders of 50 amazing partners and co-sponsors. And they have contributed in the form of presentations, in the form of promotion. The Interfaith Alliance put all of the videos for the featured sessions together, and they have also provided translation that's going to be available early next week into Spanish and Arabic, which is just a tremendous effort on their part. We want to just briefly recognize the New York Board of Rabbis and Arigato International for their amazing contributions in advising speakers and really truly making this an international and interfaith event. Tutela Minorum, the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, and the Catholic Project at Catholic University of America has been tremendous in helping to promote the event and advising communications. So I'm sure if I haven't included you, please see your logos on the page. This would not have been possible without our amazing partners. I want you to know that we had 75 presentations with representing 23 countries from all over the world. And as of this morning, we've had over 4,000 people or over 4,000 sessions viewed. So a huge thank you to our sponsors and of course Harvard for hosting the event.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're incredibly grateful to everyone. All right, and so I'm going to just some of the takeaways. As I was listening in the roundtable discussions, people had been taking notes during all the presentations, which is always being a lecturer in a university. When they're taking notes, they're really interested, or they're really worried about their final exam. We didn't have a final exam here, but we did have a lot of note taking, and so I tried to capture the moments and then went back to the films of the people that said those comments. And so I just want to run through quickly some of the key themes that we were hearing. So Reverend Miyamoto talked about prioritizing the well-being of children in all of our actions and all that we can do to prevent child sexual abuse and putting the child first. And so that was a clear message from him, and that resonated with many in our audience. Cardinal O'Malley, who has just been an amazing support and is the president on the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors. And Emer, I'm not going to steal your thunder. I wanted you to talk a little bit about Cardinal O'Malley, but I will share that he is probably one of the most tireless workers that I've ever seen. And my first meeting with him, it took me several letters and phone calls to get through to his office. And our standing joke, when I sat down at the table, I said, do you know it's harder to get a meeting with you than the Pope? And he started laughing, which was really a good sign. It was, I would say, Emer would say, it's almost a fluke in how I got through to meet Pope Francis the first time. She said, it never happens like that. I sent a letter and I got invited. Without further ado, Emer, would you talk a little bit about the work you're doing at the Commission and about Cardinal O'Malley?
Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, everybody from Rome. Apologies if my connection is not great. We're having some problems weather-wise over here. First of all, thank you all. Thank you, every one of you, for this amazing symposium. Sage and the organization team, everybody who participated. It's gone beyond, I think, everybody's expectations. I first met Jennifer in 2016 when she came into our office because Cardinal O'Malley rang and said, there's this woman I want you to meet. Jennifer Wortham. And I had no idea at the time that we would be here, fast forward 5 years later. She literally wrote a letter to the Pope. They invited her to a general audience, which happens every Wednesday over here in the Vatican. And she got to meet him. It doesn't always happen that way. I think everyone that Jennifer meets, she touches and she inspires. We were founded by the Holy Father in 2014 with two very specific mandates from Pope Francis. First of all, to work and to be the voice of those who have been abused as children in our church, to build our work on their courage and their endurance. And nothing that we do or can do would be possible without the courage and endurance of those who have come forward. There was a quote during the symposium, or rather a comment during the symposium, that everything we do grows from the pain of these people's pain. So that needs to be recognized, and their bravery. Our second mandate was to go out to the local churches. So to go out to the world where we have men and women in our communities taking care of so many children and vulnerable people, and to see what they need and to help them. And because as many of your faith communities, the Catholic Church is a reality, a global reality. This is a huge challenge. We're new to the job, and we do stand on the shoulders of many of you who have been doing this for very many years. In 2017, when we had a session with the Holy Father, he said to us, I want you to go out and work with partners in civil society and other faith groups. We will do better in protecting children and vulnerable adults if we do it together. And that is my takeaway from this symposium. Cardinal O'Malley, our president, has been committed from day one. His entire ministry has been a ministry revolving around this horrible scourge and crime of child sexual abuse, literally since he became a bishop. He has listened to thousands and thousands of stories. Everyone is important as the next. And he was very much 100% behind this initiative from the start. And I'm very excited to see where we will go to from here. Thank you all.
Thank you, Emer. And Emer has been an amazing partner and really helped guide me in my communications with the Vatican, and then just worked tirelessly to help us promote the event. And I think in part the international success that we had in terms of growing awareness is in large part due to Emer. So thank you so much. We're so grateful for your support. So Queen Sylvia was able to give us a message, and it was a sobering message. It was also filled with hope, but I was deeply touched by this, and I would say my family is about a third Swedish. So my mom was thrilled. Her father, my grandfather, his family came over from Sweden during World War II, and so she was really touched that we had the Queen of Sweden. So Nicole, would you speak briefly about Her Majesty and your work, please?
Sure, absolutely. So Her Majesty Queen Sylvia, as Queen Sylvia of Sweden, has been a tireless champion for children and providing safe childhoods for children free from child sexual abuse and exploitation. And she was honored to participate and continue the work of the World Childhood Foundation as we work within our 4 offices in Germany, Brazil, Sweden, and the United States to develop solutions to prevent and end child sexual abuse. And so we hope to continue this partnership, and we're so honored to have Her Majesty speak. So thank you again for allowing us to participate, Jennifer.
Thank you, Nicole. We were delighted and thrilled to have the message, and it was very meaningful for us. So I think one of the takeaways from Her Majesty's presentation, and one that really speaks to my heart, is as more victims find the courage to come forward, stigma and shame are starting to crumble. And I think for me, that was one of the biggest takeaways from this event. And as we gave the medium to survivors to speak, and we did so, and I'm going to do a big shout out to Father Hans Zollner, who really, I think, was probably the second person that I reached out to for the conference. And he has had many, many, many years experience in working in the field of prevention in the church, and in many points in time early, I think on was a lone voice and really being a champion for children. And I'll never forget the discussion when we talked about incorporating the voices of survivors, which many organizations want to do, but I'm not sure they always get it right, because the challenge when you bring in survivors is, of course, it can be very re-traumatizing for them. And even as Father Hans told me, that even the ones that he has worked with that are the strongest, that they are deeply impacted by this when they give their testimonies. And so we wanted to find a way to have survivors express their journey. But I knowing my brothers and knowing how much they've been impacted, we didn't want to have anyone re-traumatized, and we really wanted them to be able to reflect and look back on what it is that brought them to where they are today in their healing journey. And so in telling the stories, what we asked the survivors to share were their specific moments of their recollections of their healing journey. And I will have to say that it was very successful. And in large part, what I wanted to do with this conference was to inspire the faith community to want to work with victims. So bridging the two, the conversation I had with Hans and how we would have survivors speak, and knowing the vision for the conference was really about inspiring, not trying to put fear into the faith community, but really to inspire them to want to victims. And I think we accomplished that. And we interviewed many survivors. I think we have about 20 hours of film in what I call in the can from around the world. And it was a daunting task, and we had this amazing group to help us put this film together. And this film that we did is this segment of a documentary that we're going to be producing. We had very little control over much of the film that came in because of COVID. We had to rely on local videography teams who had various levels of expertise. And then in some countries, there was complete lockdowns and people were not able to travel. And so we're so grateful to the survivor community and then all of those who sponsored and helped support the videotaping and then provided us with B-roll and stuff. So I will say that I've had just a lot of amazing feedback from the sponsors. And so I took note of the feedback and things that impacted people the most. And so as you all know, by now, Michael Hoffman, who was asked to read Pope Francis' message. And when we sent the letter to His Holiness, we could have asked for His Holiness to send us a video presentation, but and Mike did not know that I had put in the letter that I wanted to have a survivor read the message, a survivor of clergy abuse, because I wasn't sure if we would get it, the message, but I remember when it did come in, it was about 2 days before the event, and I shared with Mike, and you know, he was visibly moved that he was being asked to share, and it was very meaningful to him to be able to share, as you saw on the video when he got to read the message. So he was going to be with us today, but he sent his regrets. Yesterday was his 27th anniversary, so I decided to use a picture of him with his wife, and they're off celebrating their anniversary. And he's not with us today, but the comment that was very moving for some of the people was that the abuser took so much from me, but I will never allow my abuser to take away my faith. And that was very powerful for many people. And so we thank Mike for his contribution and being willing to share his testimony. Oh my goodness, ICLAS. So Sage, I know you spoke and work closely with ICLAS. So would you talk a bit about that experience and the work that you did trying to bring this one in and help us with this
Absolutely.
wonderful story.
Very briefly, Akhlas is a survivor from the Yazidi faith. As many of you know, there was a genocide in 2014 based on specifically targeting a religious minority, the Yazidi people in northern Iraq. And Akhlas is a survivor of sexual slavery as a child and a fearless advocate right now. 2 weeks ago, you can look up online, she testified in front of the UN Security Council about what happened to her people. And she is a strong advocate, especially for the need for faith leaders to engage in decreasing stigma and in welcoming survivors back into their communities in full fellowship. Very briefly, we have to recognize Jacqueline Isaac. She is the Vice President of Roads of Success, one of our partners, who is the one who connected us with Akhlas, and she does amazing advocacy in helping many religious minorities, but especially at the Yazidi community in northern Iraq.
And so I used, at this moment in the film, she was talking about Jacqueline, and so I used this message because there was also an overwhelming theme in the discussions around justice and truth. And so it was a beautiful, moving moment for me when I saw what I guess is spoken. And so when she refers to "she held my hand," that was Jacqueline. And so I think then, as we have a takeaway, having when the survivors come forward and we want to hear their voices are not, sometimes they can't even express what it is they need to express. And so so I thought this was a really moving moment of having that partner who really walked with her and would help communicate the voice of the oppressed and reach justice and truth. And she did that as a partner. And so we're very grateful to have that level of partnership and beauty in the world of people who are championing this cause. So and then to talk briefly about Brisa, which also deep, I'm sorry, let me hear something. Brisa, she's not, I don't think she's joined us today. So Brisa is, what a firecracker. I mean, she's just really out there making things happen. And so she worked hard. She had a really tragic story of childhood rape, and then when it was reported, it was finally reported to the authorities. Her life was threatened. Her house was burned down. They had 23 judges recuse themselves from hearing the case, and it's a really moving story and of resilience and persistence. And I don't know who her lawyer was, but I know just from experience, it's my family experience, that the kind of institutional challenges that one faces when they don't want this type of crime to be discovered can be really daunting and challenging and intimidating. And she got through it, and she turned her pain into a very positive movement in Bolivia, and has rallied all the communities, and they have now a national day of the celebration for victims' rights, especially against sexual violence, and that is in November. And we are, there was parts of that you got to see in the video, the documentary. We're going to be incorporating a lot more about her journey, because she's really sparked an amazing movement. And I think at the end of her presentation, which was just so powerful for me, and she said, there is no middle ground. You are either part of the problem or you are part of the solution. And I felt that personally resonated with me. And again, it came up in some of the roundtable meetings as one of the quotes that was very meaningful to many. So I didn't start off with our keynote speaker. I put it here because as we talk about our next steps, you know, of course, Dr. Mukwege's very powerful speech and his words and his wisdom left us all with a lot to reflect upon. And I think that as we listened to his words and the work and what he's accomplished and the resilience that he's had personally. I was very moved. And so many may not know, but as we are here today, you know, he still receives death threats and has had attempts made on his life for, because he's trying to bring to justice war criminals, and they don't like that very much. And so I believe at this time there's a UN peacekeeping troops that are protecting his compound, and just I know he's fighting against war, but I consider him to be a warrior of justice. And we were so very blessed to have him with us. And I think we have someone from his foundation with us, Esther. I think we had a lot of people joining us after we started. So is Esther here? I can see. All right, I can't see if she was able to join us, but anyway, we're really grateful to have had Dr. Mukwege as our keynote, and I think probably enough said. It's just been an amazing journey. I'm going to have Darian talk a little bit about our PR, but we had a very impromptu birthday celebration. So April 8th was established after coming back from meeting Pope Francis the first time. And my brother's birthday is April 8th, and April in the United States is Child Abuse Awareness Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I'm not sure that people could take a whole month of every day working on child sexual abuse, or that we could get something like that through at the UN, but we really felt that we needed to dedicate a day. And so my brother did not know of the work that we were doing. He knows that I'm doing work in this area, and when I wrote my book, there is a request to His Holiness to help him put a day together, but he had no idea of what was going on. And so, so when I started sending him the stories, and I just sent him the story from that the Vatican News wrote just to say, you know, happy birthday. And I didn't hear from him for several hours, and I thought, oh, he must be upset. And my other brother says, oh, he doesn't know anything. I said, I sent him the email, so he didn't get good reception where he's working. And so when he did hear about it, he was very overwhelmed. And then I requested his permission if we could celebrate with him. And it was a very impromptu. I sent out an invitation and to many of you, and I'm just so grateful for those that were able to join us to sing happy birthday. It was a very moving moment. I brought several people to tears. We started off hearing from him, and those are my two nieces in the background. Patrick is the third one over, and from the left to the right on the top with his two girls. And I want to thank you all for sharing that special moment with us, with him. It was really wonderful. So the mission of the World Day is to establish a World Day for promoting global awareness of how we can prevent child sexual abuse and support healing for victims and their family members. And our goal is simply to stop child sexual abuse and ensure all the people of the world whose lives have been impacted by child sexual abuse can flourish. And so we launched a campaign. Darian, who also has, is it 3 children or 4 children, Darian? I know you have a lot of children. I know Darian's there.
Yes, hi, I'm here. Yes, 4 children, and
yeah,
I'm happy to speak on our mission and also on our campaign.
Thank you very much. So Darian, it's been amazing. So
I have just had the pleasure of working with so many of you, and even if you haven't known me, I probably have known of you and your names as they have been coming across in emails and the press releases we've sent out and in the social media engagement. We started the social media campaign 6 weeks ago, and since then our presence on social media has doubled, which is pretty unprecedented for many of you who are in organizations. It's a slow going process, like many have said, 20 years. So the fact that all of you have come together to help build this and amplify this message has been incredible. Just in the past 24 hours, there have been probably 200 plus tweets going out just with the April 8 World Day. I know there's been more than that, but everything that you have been sharing on social media has really just taken off. Jennifer's showing this picture of our Stand With Us challenge. And this is what is so beautiful, is not only have these large organizations and faith communities come together to share their experiences and share their expertise, but we have really seen the grassroots of people within communities who are parents, mentors, coaches, standing with the April 8 World Day mission. And that has just been incredibly beautiful. I know a lot of your directors or yourself, you have posted pictures of you standing and explaining why you stand with April 8 World Day. And a lot of these images and photos will be used in the documentary as well that Jennifer spoke of, so we're very grateful for that. Our hashtag April 8 World Day was not quite a trending hashtag, which usually you have to have thousands upon thousands of people tweeting about it, but it was a recognized hashtag over the past 48 hours, which is incredible. I just want to show with you real quick, I'm going to share my screen. This is our Facebook engagement. If you're looking at the green numbers.
I have to stop. I think I have to let you share. There you go.
Can everyone see that now? If you're looking at the green numbers, this is our actions on our page, our engagement, our videos that are being watched, and this doesn't even include all the presentations that were shown on YouTube, but we're seeing engagement increases into the 2000 percentile. That's moving up. This is just thanks to all of you who have just been amplifying this message all over social media, throughout the media, with your connections. So I just wanted to share that with you because I've been in social media and in communications for 12 plus years, and I haven't seen numbers like this. This is incredible. Let's see, Jennifer, if you want to show your screen again. A couple of other highlights that I just wanted to mention. We have seen people stand with us from the White House, from the Biden administration. Obviously, we talked about Her Majesty Queen Sylvia of Sweden. Celebrities have stood behind us in the past 2 days. Taya Leone, Jonathan Sheikh, Alex Winter, and of course, all the organizations who maybe aren't represented here today, but we saw on that page that Sage was talking about, Together for Girls, RAIN, Arigato, Ponzi Foundation, We Global, and Violence, Darkness to Light. These are organizations that have such a broad reach, and they have just amplified our message. And they have been sharing all of these beautiful presentations so that it's not just the 4,000 who have joined us for the symposium, but this will go out to the world and really continue to do work over the next year. I mean, these are messages that will continue to be shared. I also wanted to mention that my job is to eliminate communication breakdown, and when there are issues, to put a stop to them, and also to monitor when people are taking this hashtag or this message and using it to diminish the work that's being done. And I think this is just a testament to what has been said so many times over, that it is the grace of God, the grace of the universe, that there hasn't been no negative messaging around the symposium and around the April 8 World Day for the past 72 hours, which is just, for me, it just goes to show how uplifting and how gracious and wonderful this community is. So a huge thank you to all of you, and especially to our survivors who have come forward and shared such powerful messages, because that has been my greatest concern through all of this, that these survivors would be protected, that as they shared this and we share it with the world through our communications, through our PR, through our social media, that their stories would be protected. So it was just very successful, unprecedented successfulness throughout this entire event.
Thank you so much, Darian. You did an amazing job. So I'm going to issue all of you a challenge. If you have not tweeted, and for those of us that are over the millennial age, for me, I know it was very funny as I was calling Darian, I'm like, how do I do a tweet? And, I know it dates me a little bit, but she was very gracious. And so we actually, the first tweet, which is up here in the corner that I'm showing, was the First Lady of Sierra Leone. And Darian came up with this concept to do the tweeting of the feet, because we really wanted to protect survivors and put a safe space for them. And so there were survivors that were tweeting that maybe have disclosed for the first time. maybe didn't want to put their face on, but I think this campaign was just a very innovative and incredibly successful campaign. And so Darian, we're so grateful to you for coming up with that idea. So what we've asked is that everybody stand with us and take a picture of their feet, no matter where they are. And the challenge was to please tweet it to 3 people and ask them to tweet it to 3 people. And so I'm going to please ask you today, we want to keep the social media moving. If you will do a tweet, and if you need help, Darian will stay with you afterwards and take you through the process. And so I think as I looked at this, the thing that moved me was this one that was from Candle in a Dark Room. And I'm a child of sexual abuse survivor. And today I'm standing with April 8th World Day to bring awareness to this issue and child sexual abuse. And they said, do you know, there is not a World Day of awareness for child sexual abuse. There's a day of awareness for almost everything except child sexual abuse. That's not okay and needs to be changed ASAP. So today, April 8th and every day, I stand with all victims of child sexual abuse. I recognize the innocence of children and that they all deserve to be safe and loved. And so again, that was another tearful moment for me to hear and see that tweet. And I think that moves us all and really is a testament to the campaign. And then again, to Harvard, I'm so incredibly grateful for giving us this opportunity to take this forward in such a meaningful way. So I'm going to ask, I think Hans Zollner is with us. Are you with us, Father Hans? I think we have about 50 people. And well, I'm not seeing Hans Zollner, so I will speak briefly, but the Holy Father was very moved by the conference that we were putting together. And I know, Emer, you spoke about Cardinal O'Malley, but I also know that your office sits right next to the Holy Father's residence. And so I'll give you also, again, an opportunity to please speak a little bit about the commitment and work that His Holy Father is doing in this issue.
Yes, well, I think everybody is aware that when Pope Francis was elected to the papacy in 2014, we had reached a tipping point, we thought at the time, and the fact that we needed to confront and we needed to adequately respond to the clerical child sexual abuse crisis in our church was one of his priorities, if not the priority. Father Hans Zollner, as you were speaking about it, I would describe him as a prophet in our time. Pope Francis also called Cardinal O'Malley a prophet in our time. These are the men who, when it was not a key issue in society or indeed in our church, had already put their finger on this problem, this crime, and had already begun to speak out against it and tried to take steps to address it. First of all, for the benefit of those who've been so horribly abused, and secondly, to try and start implementing prevention strategies. Pope Francis set up the commission specifically as advisors to him, to tell him what the church was doing wrong. The commission has many members among the membership who are experts in their field, from psychiatrists, medical doctors, former state chief police, former high court justices, people who've been working their entire life in this area. Father Zollner was immediately pointed to it. Father Zollner runs the Center for Child Protection at the Pontifical Gregorian University. He's from Germany. He has been tireless, and I mean tireless, in traveling the world to literally preach about our moral obligation as people of faith to care for children and vulnerable people who are in our congregations, who are in our communities, who are in our schools, who are in our hospitals. He had put a face to our efforts to confront this evil. He really did. And I don't think we can ever thank him enough for that. It's a tireless and thankless task sometimes. One of our most important advice, one of the commission, the members' most important piece of advice that they gave the Holy Father, besides the needs to really look at the juridical processes regarding, cases, et cetera, to study them more from the point of view of human dignity, et cetera, was to bring all the leaders of the churches from the world to one place, to get together and to listen to the testimony of people who've been abused. Because Father Zollner has often said, and I agree with him in this, and it has to be a conversion. It's not just a policy. It's about really understanding the trauma. And often enough, you need a personal encounter to do that. And so our commission advised the Holy Father to gather everyone together to the Vatican in 2019, February 2019, for the first global summit of our leadership on this issue. So he put it front and center for us. Sometimes we can do this work publicly, as with this symposium now, which has been so wonderful, because building awareness means also confronting and defeating the fear that is in so many people to even talk about the issue of child sexual abuse. That is one of the greatest obstacles to people coming forward to disclosing. They're afraid to even talk about it. So the more we get our religious community leaders to even mention and pronounce the words, the more people become aware that it's okay to say it. I think the more we will encourage people to come forward and speak about it. And the more we will encourage people to be aware that it could happen even in their midst. And so this is where Pope Francis has been vital. He hasn't been afraid to say it. He hasn't been afraid to say when we get things wrong, to admit when we get things wrong. And he hasn't been afraid to commit himself to try and get them right now. He's also had very many private meetings with victims of abuse. He's also had public meetings, because sometimes it has to be on both levels, really. It can be public, but sometimes to help those people who do not want their stories to be within the media spotlight, it has to be private meetings. But it is front and center. It's front and center for this pontificate, and it's front and center for our church.
Thank you very much, Emer. It's been an amazing culmination of events to have all these organizations, especially the ability to work with the church. And so I will say that we started a campaign to launch the World Day, and it took 4 years. It was an effort that we knocked on a lot of doors, and the first organization to adopt and agree to adopt and help us deploy it was Prevent Child Abuse America. And I know Melissa Merrick is with us today. I think I saw you're still with us. And so Melissa, do you want to just kind of talk a little bit about maybe our first meeting and what that meant to you, and some of your vision for this, please? Melissa is here.
I think Melissa might have left and doesn't look on our participant list anymore.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, Prevent Child Abuse America was amazing and a great supporter. Melissa Merrick is the president and CEO, and the gentleman that helped co-found the collaborative, Michael Hoffman, was the president of Prevent Child Abuse Illinois, and that's how I got introduced to him, and that really helped us to launch the organization. And so I think most all of you now have had a chance to speak. I wasn't sure if I saw Dudley on the roster or if he's still with us, but pretty much everybody got to do an introduction to the organizations. It took a little bit longer, but I felt like it was important so that we all knew, everybody knew who was here, and all the great work that went into planning this event. And I really thank everybody. And we're going to go forward, and I'm sure there'll be more people coming to the advisory committee. But it's been a really honor. It's been a great honor and a good experience for me to meet all of you. So I think this one, as we talk a little bit about here, Dr. Vino, who was just so gracious, really talked about where there is pain, healing is possible, and that again was another quote that someone brought up. And so we went and found that moment in the video, and we're really grateful again for your leadership and helping us with this and all the work that you do in India and around the world. So thank you for listening to the presentation. I think we wanted to make sure that we had a recap, and I know, Susan, our time is going to be a little short, so I'm going to ask to call on maybe the people who haven't spoken, and if we could start with David Holland, who's joined us today, Dean Holland from the Divinity School, who was an amazing partner in this process for us. And we're so grateful to have you here today. And so Susan, you're gonna take us through, and I'll go back to the very beginning, and I'm gonna just quickly swing back because my computer is giving me a little bit of problems this morning. And so we're going to talk about some next steps. And the idea here is just to go quickly around the room and just maybe talk about a key observation and learning and a desired next steps. So Susan, you want to take the lead in this one, and we'll start with Dr. Holland and then go around to how it's spoken.
Sure. Dr. Holland, please go ahead. We're short on time. Let's hear you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer and Susan. I'm honored to be here, and I'm touched by the spirit and the accomplishment of this symposium. That the Harvard Divinity School is really profoundly pleased to have partnered with so many others in support of this symposium, and we look forward to continued partnership and cooperation in the effort to raise awareness and preventive use and facilitate healing in regard to child sexual abuse. Harvard Divinity School it's a multi-religious divinity school, and across religious traditions and ethical systems, care for the vulnerable is an abiding theme. It's embedded in so many cultures, this central recognition that we owe something sacred and something substantial, something real to those whose defenselessness has been entrusted to our collective care. And the Harvard Divinity School is really eager to join with all of you in continuing to promote this global cause of protection and healing and justice and prevention. So thank you very much.
Thank you, David. And so Susan, I think you might go from your screen, because I don't know if your screen is looking the same as me, but we can go around and touch on people who haven't spoken.
So we'll just say this is prophetic, because the only face I can see right now, I had everybody, and we're at 27 people with 15 minutes. But the only person I can see right now is Major Dana. So I'd say you're up next. And the idea here, and I think the time's a bit short, but key takeaways and thoughts about next steps, because I think one of the things that has driven Jennifer and Sage and the rest of the team is that this isn't just a symposium, this is contributing to a movement. And as people have said, which started many, many years ago, but this particular piece really needs momentum to keep it moving forward. So Major Dana.
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me was we never had, at least since I was involved a few years back, this mix of science and faith in the same room. The multidisciplinary interfaith gathering was so diverse in principle, but we were also similar in passion and objective. One thing that opened my eyes, we don't speak a lot about child healing as much as we talk about prevention of abuse in the digital and physical world, and as much as we speak about solutions and roles and responsibilities, and in the area of digital dignity of children online, responsibilities of tech companies and of government and private sector. Healing is not a discussion that is as popular, or as there is not as much investment in the discussion around healing of children. And I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from me. It's certainly something that we will make sure that we incorporate on all the efforts that we are doing with grassroots level faith leaders and with institutional faith leaders. Really, we will continue the commitments that we've made during the symposium. I mean, we are committed to working with interfaith faith leaders around the world to cultivate their efforts really and empower them to take a more active role in their communities. I think everybody at this point understand what God is and what faith is. What we want to see is God in the works and faith working. And I think I'm really encouraged more and more to continue this conversation, to continue the efforts, to continue working on this. And just a brief thing to speak about Pope Francis. When we went to him in 2019 and wanted his sponsorship to the digital dignity of child online and the sexual exploitation of children prevention, he was one of our greatest sponsors, and he was an inspiration and continues to be an inspiration of someone who understands that child abuse is not just in the physical world, but also in the digital world.
Thank you very much, Dana. I'm going to move swiftly along here. I really want to hear from a few people. Could I call on Bishop Julio Murray?
Yes, good morning to all of you again. And thank you, Susan, for making us part of this wonderful event. And thank you also, Jennifer and Sage, for walking with us through the process. I mean, I could go on saying thanks to a lot of people, Mustafa, Rebecca, that have made us part of a wider opportunity, not only to share experiences, but to be able to count on each other for support as we move along. Um, yes, I do believe that the themes of resilience and healing go hand in hand in the work that we do with children who have been abused. And for example, one of the things I think we need to focus on during this time of the pandemic, I mean, everybody's focusing on the pandemic itself. But again, when we look into some of the statistics of the children that have been abused because of lockdown and the quarantine, it is surprising to see the amount of violence that have been executed on children. If we can just walk closely with government agencies and make sure that this information doesn't fall through the cracks, it's important to bring perpetrators to justice, but more important, it is also to make sure that those who have been abused and affected have the necessary accompaniment and healing processes, spaces for healing, so that they can be able to continue with their life project. Again, thank you very, very much for the opportunity to participate. And we also look forward for the steps that are waiting on us to be taken to move forward. May you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julio. Let's move along to Friedrich Siedel, World Council of Churches. This feels a little bit like a reunion for me, by the way. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. Friedrich.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the World Council of Churches, I would like to build on what Bishop Murray just said. We are extremely grateful to the organizers for bringing us together to accelerate the prevention and healing of child sexual abuse. And those spaces which you mentioned, Bishop Murray, of healing, they are extremely important, but unfortunately in many countries still the access to counseling and therapy is still a luxury for those who can afford it. So the WCC takes away from the many excellent discussions over these days the need for joint efforts, hopefully through April 8, to make sure that in all countries, everyone as an adult who realizes that they were victims of child sexual abuse can have free access to support through psychologists or other specialists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Friedrich. Thank you. Now we have at least 3 more people I want to call on and then 2 benedictions. So if you would indulge me, I'm going to suggest we might go over by 5 minutes. And my personal feeling is, having been up since 6:55 this morning, another 5 minutes on this is time well spent. So let's move on. Ian Drennan from We Protect, some observations and thoughts about next steps.
Thank you so much, Susan. I think this has been an amazingly inspiring seminar. I think I'd echo the words from Jennifer about it's exceeded expectations. I think it's just been an incredibly diverse and an informative experience for us. And I think we are an alliance. We're focused on child sexual abuse online. So I thought I'd draw on a couple of points from some of the members of our alliance. And I think from Maud de Barbaciccio, she gave a brilliant quote saying the world is dangerous not because of those that are evil, but because those that don't take action. And I think there's tremendous power with this community, this group of people who've set about protecting children from harm. The religious community has such a role to play, such power to help and ensure that children feel safe and loved within that space. And it was so great to hear that echoed by so many of the speakers. So We Protect Global Alliance stands ready to support the work going forward that's been kicked off by this seminar and by the Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities. It's wonderful to see Lieutenant Colonel Dana as well speaking. So we want to help, we want to support, and let's just build on the momentum.
Thanks, Ian. And I think you really have picked up on something that of those 4,000 views of the presentations, I'm probably accountable for at least 100 of them, having gone through again to see one of the consistent comments from people. And I think this is a tipping point. We're talking, and there is, and if you're not talking or you're not engaging in that conversation, then you're not on the solution side here yet. So I'm paraphrasing that very badly, but that's a big sentiment, I think, that was consistent. Gretchen Bachman. Hi, Gretchen. Do you want to say a few words?
Hi, Susan. Thanks. So I work for the Department of State and USAID on the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. And and Susan will know this well, there isn't a community, isn't a place that I visited working on, child protection issues where we don't hear the common story that usually from a child protection worker that a child has reported violence, and community leaders have come to that child protection officer and said, don't do anything about this. Just let's push this under the rug, more or less. And I'm just struck today by how incredibly important it is for faith leaders to be part of stepping in there and saying, no, we have to bring this out of the shadows. We have to talk about this. We have to address this. And from our violence against children surveys, which UNICEF and PEPFAR and others have been doing and CDC primarily for the last, I think, decade or more, it's just made a huge difference in our understanding of how often children do not get help. I mean, it's something like less than 3% in some countries of children who report violence who get help. And again, it's faith leaders who the community looks to. It's faith leaders that we need to talk to. And we've been doing some community conversations with faith leaders throughout our countries to really talk about sexual violence against children. And I just want to say how thankful I am to Susan, to Jennifer, to everyone who came together. This is an incredibly important moment for bringing this issue forward. And I love the idea of April 8th. And I think that is going to be a powerful reminder and centering point moving forward. So just a lot of gratitude to everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Gretchen. And I want to deflect all of that in terms of this, incredible symposium and the movement to Jennifer and Sage and others at the Center for Human Flourishing. Sorry, I don't like moving this quickly, but I'm going to, just in interest of time. Mohammed Kosia, would you like to say a few words?
Mohammed, you're muted.
Thank you very much to everyone, Jennifer, Sage, Pelagia, Shine and Sierra Leone. I think for us, I've been working with the First Lady of Sierra Leone on the Hands of Our Girls project. I live in Washington, DC, but I go to Sierra Leone and I work with her for the past couple of years. And I saw what that particular Hands of Our Girls project did to the psyche of Sierra Leoneans. Before, people were timid, people were scared to come forward to talk about rape, early marriage. Now that thing is all over the place and it's taking over. I think for us, it's a validation of what Africans have been going through. I think we also deal with the economics of this. There are people who probably turn a blind eye, probably keep silence because the perpetrator probably is providing support for the family. So we're dealing with that. Someone spoke about the therapy. I think we in Africa, we don't have that thing called psychosocial support. I think I can tell you it's a huge percentage of Africans who have grown up children being sexually abused, molested at a young age. So people don't understand these things affect you during your life, with your family, with your kids. So for us, it's very, very encouraging and very, very enticing for our First Lady to be part of this. And she's ready and willing to take this wherever she's able to, with the support of everybody on this team. So I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. And I think if there's one thing this symposium has underscored, it is the particular regional experience, as you just described, the African experience. But in fact, sadly, this is the human experience around the world. So I think everyone here on this call and more broadly stands in solidarity with you. The last person I'm going to call upon before our two benedictions is Father Gerard. Now, I don't know, I'm sorry, Father, I'm going to slightly make this Spanish, I think, but Maglone, correct me if I'm wrong about the pronunciation.
Hey, you can call me whatever. I'm just delighted to be here. Very briefly, kudos once again to Jennifer Sage and everyone who's done such an amazing job, and it's a great grace and comfort to have been part of this. Incredibly challenging and raw for many of the participants. The three things I'd like to mention are very simply the need to continue to listen and put survivors first, the ongoing need to always apologize, most especially quickly, but even belatedly, the role of that. And the key thing that it's just so apparent in just what was just said by you, Mohammed, what others have said, is the importance of gathering data in a multicultural interfaith reality to really to sort of detail what are the best psychosocial interventions. We can't change something unless we know it's there. And to me, it's vitally important that we do groundbreaking research on what are the effects. I mean, we certainly know the effects of sexual abuse in the general population, but I'm convinced in faith-based abuse that there are unique effects that we need to really look at in order to develop a more effective protocol in various formats. So again, I'm just so honored to be here and be part of this group. And if the healing can begin with faith-based intervention, the healing will end with an integration of spirituality in treatment.
Well, that's a very powerful comment. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to just diverge slightly from the script, if you'll allow me. I want to give an opportunity to any of our survivors from the symposium who may be on this call. I can't see everyone, but please just jump in. Any brief remarks, just to acknowledge all of you and your participation and presence and grace and bravery. Would anyone like to come in there? Sage, do you see any names?
Ashley and Mark, yeah.
Okay.
Hi everyone, it's Mark Williams.
Thank you, Mark.
I think what Father Gerard just said is so significant, because it is, for the faith-based integration to begin the healing, and for spirituality to promote the healing worldwide. It was very moving for me as a clerical abuse survivor to take part in this extraordinary symposium. There were two quotes that really hit me by way of maybe coming to a close soon. And one was, God loves a broken vessel. And the other was, every child houses the divine. And for me, to experience that, and my brokenness for many, many decades, and to experience the healing of all of you and your faith means so much, and my interior freedom has increased over these last 3 days. And I am just so grateful for all of you, because there's so many countless other victims in our global community that need help, because every child does house the divine, and we need to reach them. And whatever I can do to be part of the solution, you have my commitment and my courage as an unworthy servant to try to do my best. So with very, very profound gratitude to all of you, I'm just so moved. And I think at the core of that is your love in God, for the little ones, for vulnerable minors, vulnerable adults, that my shame has been lifted more through all of you these last 3 days. So God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mark. That's, incredibly powerful. And I was just thinking to myself, when you said commitment and courage, wouldn't it be nice if that was the next pandemic? A pandemic of commitment, courage, and love. I want to see if Ashley is still with us. Ashley, would you like to say a few words before we go over to Rabbi Joe for a benediction?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am super excited to be here today. Thank you for everything that you all have contributed. I echo the sentiments of what has been shared on the success. I mean, it's such a great success that we've had. And one of the things, just very briefly, I'm grateful about is the fact that we are merging faith and science. As a survivor, one of the hardest things to do is to explain to others my resiliency and overcoming without including my faith. My faith is a huge part of my survivor story and overcoming. And so I'm super grateful for this platform to be able to merge both, to say that you can have a faith and you can also follow facts as well. And there are some key things that you can do to prevent, and there are some key things that you can do to heal outside of who you serve. So I'm super grateful to be here, and I'm thankful for everything that's been shared. And I look forward to what's next.
Thank you, Ashley. I think it would be most fitting if I pass this back to Jennifer, who has led all of this, to invite the benedictions. Over to you, Jennifer.
So thank you. So we actually have two benedictions today. We have a benediction for the meeting, our current meeting, and then we have a benediction for the overall closing of the entire event. And so next steps quickly, we're going to do a report. There'll be a special edition publication. We're going to be inviting everybody to give a written report, and we're working on a documentary, which will be out, we hope, in the next few months with a broader array of voices. There's a research study, so everybody that registered for the symposium is going to be receiving an email about a research study which Catholic University is leading. We're going to put together a task force and how we're going to approach the UN General Assembly meeting, which we're hoping to have this day advanced in this September's General Assembly meeting at the UN, and then our planning for April 8th. And so Rabbi Joe, thank you so much. And I'm going to embarrass Diane a little bit here, but I think Diane and I probably logged in 200 hours on phone calls. And I want to compliment her in front of her boss. He wasn't here in the very beginning, but I just really recognize and honor you and all that you did to connect us with everybody, and all the support the New York Board of Rabbis provided, and through them, all the connections we made with the amazing team at the Interfaith Alliance, and then Aragatu International, which just was such a blessing. So, Rabbi, would you please give us this meeting closing benediction, and then we're going to have the Reverend Darren Armstrong, who's going to give a closing benediction for the entire symposium. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer and Rabbi Gerson. Thank you for getting me up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, because I've never seen this hour in my life. So this is a new experience for me. Years ago, I recall asking my father, who was a survivor of the Holocaust, how did you survive weeks without food? And he said to me, Joe, we can go for weeks without food, but we can't go for hours without hope. We come to this symposium to bring hope, to bring honor, and to bring healing. Religious tradition teaches us that the real service begins when we leave the sanctuary. It's what we do on the outside that determines how sincere we were on the inside. It is not enough to pray for victims. We have to stand with them and protect them. My prayer today is contained in 3 words: use my years. Because some time ago, I officiated at a funeral of a young person who suffered the horrors of abuse. That individual wrote a will, which said at the end, to my family and friends, I make one simple request: use my years. We should not have to use anyone else's years. People, especially victims, should be able to use their years and live with decency and dignity. This is our prayer. This is our purpose. Amen.
Godly greetings. My name is Daryl Armstrong. I'm the pastor of the Shiloh Baptist Church here in the city of Trenton, New Jersey, and I am the Chief Administrative Officer to the United Nations for the Baptist World Alliance, an international faith fellowship of nearly 47 million Christians of Protestant descent, protecting human dignity and protecting the rights to religious freedom. I am starting my benediction and my comments off by wearing my mask as a reminder that in this era of unprecedented times, we must continue to be mindful of each other's safety as well as our own. So please do wear your mask, keep physical distance, not social distance, and make sure that you wash your hands and observe all other recommendations from the World Health Organization, the CDC, and other health bodies to help expedite the cure and get through this pandemic. With that said, I want to offer a few closing remarks as well as pray a prayer of benediction. I want to sincerely thank Dr. Jennifer Wortham, Research Associate at the Human Flourishing Program and Executive Director of the Initiative on Health, Religion, and Spirituality at Harvard University, as well as thanking and recognizing all who helped make this conference a success: the Human Flourishing Program, Institute for Quantitative Social Science, the Harvard Divinity School, and the Catholic Project at the Catholic University of America. In this inaugural international interdisciplinary symposium on faith and flourishing in the face of childhood sexual assault and sexual abuse, which sought to provide strategies for prevention and for healing. I'm honored to offer a benediction, and I want to thank all of the practitioners, all of the academicians, all of the researchers, all interested parties for what took place in this international symposium. With that said, would you bow your heads with me or assume whatever posture of prayer in your religious tradition? Dear God, I refuse to believe that you do not value children and that they are not at the heart of your very being. You said in your written word, prevent not children to come unto you. You said in your holy writ, children are a heritage from you, and the fruit of the womb is your reward. You said in your holy and divine word that children are to be valued, cherished, nurtured. And yet, God, we understand that today, that the very opposite of that is happening. Instead of being cherished, children are being violated. Instead of being nurtured, children are being raped. And instead of being valued, children are being devalued and broken. And so I ask on behalf of the world's children that you, God, will continue to protect the nearly 25% of young girls and the many boys around the world from being sexually abused on any given day. That you, God, would release the victims of this sexual assault and sexual abuse from the fear of being shamed and stigmatized, and that they may be given agency of voice to not only report their abuse, but to stand up against their abusers. I ask, God, that you would empower the nearly 70% of victims to seek help and those who think there is no help to be found. And I pray, oh God, that you would help every adult human being understand that the way of our future is indeed our children, and give us the ability to do all that we can to protect them, provide for them, and to prevent their abuse, neglect, and violation. Oh God, I believe that you are greater than this evil that is out there in the world. I believe that you are bigger than the small minds that wish to violate our children. And I believe that you are more wise than those of us who think we have all of the solutions. Help us to do what is necessary to protect and to provide for our children. For they are not ours, they are yours. And I ask this in thine precious name, recognizing every religious tradition that there is under the sun and upon the earth, that all of God's children, all of God's people, all who believe and share this prayer, let us close by saying, amen, amen, and amen. God bless you.